is an award-winning storyteller and author of over 15 books, including the acclaimed Dubious. I like Dubois better. A series of urban fantasy. But before we get into his books, he's also had a brief, original, colourful acting career. Tell us a little bit about that.
I don't know about brief. Nothing's
Still going.
Nothing well. Oh, nothing. It's dead. I think the battery's just gone.
Nothing in my life's been particularly brief except for one or two of the marriages. Not including the current one, it's still going strong, thank you. No, I started acting when I was still in primary school, so I've actually been on stage or in front of the camera for, let me think, what year are we in? The best part of 60 years. And boy am I tired.
Here we go.
That's called. Hello. That's called.
You'll have to shout.
It really is.
Okay, cool. Lovely. So yeah, I started doing stage stuff when I was about 7 years old. So I have been doing this for a long time. Latterly, some of you occasionally will go, hey, but isn't that you'll see an ad or something, and yes, it's probably me. Especially if it's either a drunk or a homeless person. For some strange reason, I get cut. Last year's Salvation Army winter campaign ads, I was the homeless guy in the park. Yeah, that's me. The Allianz Olympic ads, the guy with the beard in the pub shouting and screaming, yes, that's me too. So if it's a character you're seeing on screen in a film or a TV series or whatever, and they're either in a pub or in a prison or in a park, that's probably me. It's got something to do with this, I think. I hope that's all it is.
And all of this.
Yeah, funnily enough, I often have to provide my own wardrobe.
Oh, Mad Max?
Which one?
You tell us.
There's been a few, of which only one of which I had anything to do with, and I think I wound up on the cutting room floor, which is fine by me. You still get paid. It's one of the great things about being an actor. You don't have to appear on screen to get paid. You just have to be in front of a camera at some stage. Okay, good, we'll give you money now.
Which Mad Max?
One of the last ones. I think there was another one subsequent to the one that I missed out on.
Okay, we're going to move on to your books, because that's why we're here.
Yes.
So tell us a bit about the Golden Garden series and how they come about.
Okay. A few of you might have been around 2 years ago when we launched the first Golden Gardens book here. They're my whodunits, my mysteries. And they're set in somewhere that I'm told looks remarkably like here. And some of the people in them, that's, I don't know, might be someone a bit like that. How it all started, a few years ago now, was we being my darling bride and her mother Maggie, who some of you would remember or know, and I was sitting, as we usually did, in front of the television one evening, patting the cats and watching Midsummer Murders, or Miss Marple, or one or other, something like that. And this particular episode finished and turned the TV off and looked at each other, and I think it was Maggie that said, "We're all right, we could do something like that." And we chuckled and we talked for a while and we threw ideas around and said, yeah, it could be set in a retirement village and this could happen and that could happen, and we chucked around some giggles and laughs and all went to bed and thought nothing of it. Fast forward 6 months, 12 months, whatever it was, Maggie moved into Booper and Meredith and I were cleaning up the house and packing some of her stuff away, and I found a notebook. And what neither of us knew was that she'd gone home, gone back to bed that night, and lying in bed had written down everything that we'd said. All of the ideas, all of the clever little twists and things. And I went, ooh, this is a bit fun. This could be all right. So I said to the two of them, shall we do this? And both ladies said, well, I'm too busy. in Maggie's case, I'm not quite sure busy doing what, but I know better than to argue with my mother-in-law. So I went, okay, look, this is too good. This is too good to miss. So I sat and turned it into a book, and that is The Fall of the Wild, which, as I say, we launched here. Some of you have a copy, and those who haven't and want one, there's still a few left on the back table, and I can always print more, which is a really big plus for the whole print-on-demand idea that was being talked about before. That's what I use. Meredith and I are our own publishing company, which is something else we'll talk about later. So yeah, that came out. It went very well. People like it, still buying it. So I wrote a sequel, and the sequel's sitting up there as well now. And that's a thing called Open Mic, which is sitting down here somewhere. And there are more coming. The third one is on my keyboard at the moment, and the plans are available. Sitting the outlines there for numbers 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to be doing this for a while.
And we're really happy you're going to do that. In that book, it's you talk about setting a coastal retirement village where a body washes up on shore and vanishes. Is that anybody we know?
It depends on what radio station you listen to. Or maybe. Could just be coincidental resemblances, isn't it?
You've told me this story, and I'm not sure everybody's heard this, but the Lost Saga. Right, how did that come about?
The Lost Saga is the other book that's down here. It's my Viking story. How it originated, quite a lot of years ago, I worked in Central Australia, and I was out at the Olgas. Catajuta is what we're now supposed to call it. It will always be the Olgas to me, that's what I grew up with. And on a rock, about the height of that little coffee table in front of me, there is a carving. And that's unusual because Aboriginals' art is usually painted. Carving doesn't happen often. But there is a carving on this rock, and it's about the size of the palm of my hand. And it's a longship. It's recognisably a Viking longship. And I looked at it, and I looked at the guide who was taking me around, and I said, where the hell did that come from? And he said, we don't know. My parents, my family, generations back, it's just always been there. We don't know what the origin of it is anymore. It's just been there. So I thought, wow, that's pretty cool and interesting, and wandered away, and it just parked itself in the back of my head. You know, as seeds sometimes do. And years later, I'm still thinking about it, and I was reading something in Ballina Library about Viking expeditions and looking at the Vikings going to North America and Newfoundland and places like that. And all of a sudden the seed went pop, and a little idea came up. Vikings, Australia, how did that happen? So I spent the next 6 months in Ballina Library reading tidal charts and weather maps and currents and all that sort of stuff, and working out, okay, theoretically they could believe you left from Iceland and you went there, and you went past that part of Africa and you came down and the wind caught you and you went there. And so I'm sitting here looking at these wonderful topographical maps and working out, okay, so that's theoretically possible, it could be done. So I then spent the next couple of months reading the histories of all of these little places around that period of 850 AD. And okay, so that's what was going on. So after 6 months of research, I was able to sit there and go, okay, I know the characters I want to write about, now I know all of the setting, and the story just wrote itself. After 6 months of research, the book took me about a month to write. It just went boom, and it was just a whole lot of fun. And I've heard from a few people that it's the best thing I've ever written. I don't know, there are other things that I actually prefer, but I do like it. I do like it a lot. So if you've got an interest in what we will call historical fiction that doesn't quite slip into hysterical, if you were to think for Vikings and the idea of them landing in Australia intrigues you, there's your book.
And worth a read, by the way, very much worth a read. So tell us about your publishing journey and any advice you could give to budding authors.
Okay. The first book I had published was in 2006. It was with a company, organisation called Lulu.com. They still exist. And it was the whole thing, it was a self-publishing thing. The history of self-publishing, some of you might remember what used to be called vanity publishing, and that's where small printers or printing houses or whatever, there's not the big Penguins and HarperCollinses, but small places would go, oh yes, we'll publish your book for you. We'll typeset it, we'll do this and we'll do that. And all we ask is that you do a minimum run of, depending on the size of the place, it could be 200 or it could be 2,000. And sometimes it could be quite cost effective in terms of the price per volume. The catch with it, of course, is that I knew a bunch of people who in their garages and in their back bedrooms had boxes of books because they sold the first 100 and then they had another 1,900 to try and get rid of. And nobody's got that many friends that they can give them to for Christmas. Then this wonderful idea called print on demand appeared. And as Julie alluded to before, the great thing about print on demand is that, this is all technology in the electronic age, you go to a company that does print on demand, they take your file, it sits on file, and if somebody wants a copy of your book, they order it through any one of a number of sources, and I'll come to that in a minute. Then they print a copy and send it to you or to whoever's ordered it, wherever in the world. I moved from Lulu. The problem with Lulu was that they have very, very, very limited distribution and limited capacity to print in different places. I moved to Amazon for a little while. At that point, Amazon was limited by only printing in the US. So if someone in Australia wanted to buy a book of mine, it would cost them $20 for the book and $25.50 for the postage. Funny how that knocks sales around. Makes it kind of tough. Discovered another company called Ingram Spark, also known as Lightning Source. They, unlike Amazon in those days, had printers everywhere. And I mean everywhere. America, UK, Australia, Sweden, Italy. So it was a case of, okay, I'll go with them. So if somebody anywhere in the world wants one of my books, it costs local postage. So in Australia, it's about $5.50, which is a whole lot better than $25.50. In Sweden, it's the equivalent. So I do my own editing. I also edit for other people. Because I've done a number of books, we got to the point of being very good, I think, at editing. Cole's already given me a bit of a rap for helping put his book together, so I do know what I'm doing. So if you're at the point of saying, I've got this story and I don't know what to do with it, come and talk to me. We've published books by quite a few other authors, and they sell. Basically, they're not million sellers, but we've done all right. We've had one kid's book knock Bluey off the top of the kids' bestsellers list for a week. That was a pretty big moment. So yeah, we can make it happen. And if you want to know more detail, please do come and talk to me, and we'll be as much help to you as we can be, because that's why we're all here today, to find people with stories to tell, because we've all got stories to tell, and help you tell them and to get them out there.
Thank you, Henry, and again, clap, yeah, good clap.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
So thank you for sharing that, and again, Henry's up there and you know where he lives, so you can talk to him anytime. Thank you, my friend.
You might possibly have phrased that slightly better.
Yeah. I don't have the creative mind that you have. Nick off.
I was thinking more about it, you know where you live. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, I'm going to invite up to the microphone somebody that I know well, and you probably know a little bit better now. I'm just going to brag a little bit, because Julie won't tell you this. She's a professor, still working as a professor of psychology, still lecturing at university, and she's still consulting on international research programs with some people. Her academic book, the SPSS Survival Manual Guide, is the world's bestseller and has sold over 1 million copies worldwide.
And it's
1 million
very
copies. If you want an authorised copy, or autographed copy, and you want to, thank you, Bruce. And if you want something that will put you to sleep within 3.5 milliseconds, get one of these. There's an offer every day reading.
It's not funny. It is. It's incredibly boring.
It is funny, because it's true. But there is another side to Julie, which is the creative side, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So Julie's going to tell us about her journey writing children's and inspirational books. So I'm handing over.
So I'm just testing this works and it doesn't.
No.
Does this one work?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so I've got a different hat on now, so I've come back as an author. I've been an author since 2000, and very reluctantly I was dogged into a publisher who took my training notes that I was teaching with and turned them into a book. I did it kicking and screaming. I wouldn't let my photo be on the back of it. They interviewed me on The Age and I protested violently. I'm not that sort of person. But I found a niche that students doing research needed a book that taught them how to do the statistics. Now, I don't know about you, but I hated maths at school, terrified me, still hate statistics. But I happened to write a book that was easy for people to follow because I hated it. I made it fun, so it started off its life as a cookbook, and that's what appealed. So at that stage, I wasn't a statistician, I was a psychologist, and students had to do statistics, so I had a ready-made market. And it got published by Allen and Unwin in Australia, nice, beautiful publisher, and that was a traditional publisher, but it was a really good experience. So then they raffled me off to the rest of the world. Well, that was fun. 15 different overseas publishers put in bids for my book. And I'm thinking, oh, that's very nice. And I've had to write this wretched thing, rewrite it every 3 or 4 years since then, and I have just literally put the 8th edition to the publisher, and it'll be out in March. So, a few more royalties.
Thank goodness, that was a journey.
Yeah, it's really painful. But that's the traditional side, right? So I hand it over. I just take my training materials, I hand it over. Someone else does the editing, the layout, we squabble about that. Someone else does the cover, we squabble about that. But eventually it gets published, translated into 5 or 6 different languages, and I just sit back. I still don't have a photo on the book cover, and I still don't do any publicity, but it just quietly sells, and I'm able to retire early. So that was my publishing experience until the last few years. Now I've been playing with AI. Anyone played with AI?
Yes.
Yeah. But I don't just play. As I play, I take notes. And I thought, why don't I write the same version that I wrote for my statistics for people wanting to use AI? And at that time, I was doing a diploma in photography. I think this is my 5th degree, just because I wanted to. And so I was teaching the students and the staff that they were going to be replaced with AI, and they better learn it. So I had a ready-made audience, photographers who were scared. So that's what I published last year, so that was my little sort of keep my brain active. And then this year I thought, you know what? I think I'll have a play with self-publishing, because I dragged Carol, my friend, and Roger up to a self-publishing workshop held by the Borough Community College. It was free. So off we went, and we learned how to self-publish by this lovely lady who'd done it 27 times. So I said to Carol, we're going to publish your book. You're going to be my guinea pig. So she's going to tell you about that in a few minutes. But then I thought, okay, I've got the hang of this self-publishing. Henri was a bit of an inspiration. So I thought, you know what, I'll take my bird photos, because I'm a bird photographer, as some of you know, and I'll make a cute little gift book that features my bird photos and I'm a psychologist, so I write little inspiring, uplifting little sayings to go with it. So that's what I did. So it was a good little gift. But then I thought not everyone likes birds. People like dogs. So I'll do a dogs one, of course, that's what you do. Now, this one is all my photographs, right? So completely photographic. This book is 100% AI. Every image in it is generated using AI, because that's what I teach. Now, when I say it's AI, I went around and interviewed people who love dogs. So I wrote down what they like about their dogs, what type of dogs they have. I put it into the magic AI, and it would spit out these cute images. And then I tested them on a whole group of people who had dogs, and of course, they liked them. So I thought, okay, I'll produce a book on dogs. So that's what I did. Now, I'm a cat owner. So of course I had to do one on cats. And also been told I should do one on horses, on Australian animals, on zoo animals. So I've got a list of
Grumpy old men.
Yes, yes. So I have one of these brains that just needs to sort of keep busy, and that's what I've done. So along the way, I've learned a lot about self-publishing. So I'm actually putting together a book, would you believe, on self-publishing, getting yourself published. Why not? That's the way my brain works. But like Henri, I would like to encourage everybody that if you have a book in you, if you are writing and it's something, even if you just want to leave it for your family, it's really important to get it down. Stories, particularly your stories, or other things that make people feel happy. You know, it's something that you can do. It's not nearly as hard as you think it is. It is a hard slog. I won't take the back. It is. There's a lot of work that you have to do. So I take my hat off to every one of the authors here, because it's been many, many hours, weeks, months, looking at the manuscript over and over and over and over again, and working on it. So this is an encouragement that there is a book in everyone. And if you can think of any more ideas that I can publish, please let me know.
Please don't. Please don't. Can I ask a question? You've probably worked out by now that, I hope I can say that Julie is neurodivergent. So
A card carrying ADHD with
Yeah.
a brain that does not stop, so I
Yeah.
have to have outlets.
So the question I'm going to ask card-carrying ADHD neurodivergent wife, how important it is to you that you've got a partner who can cook, wash, clean, go shopping? I had to get that in. I don't expect an answer till later.
And it's true. Any author in the throes of that final run to the end, honestly, the thought of doing washing up, no, it would absolutely destroy me. I can sometimes throw a load of washing on because I run out of clothes, but yeah. So behind every good author, there's probably someone pushing, supporting, encouraging, guiding, whatever to get it done. Because I certainly wouldn't be here without Roger.
Thank you. Carol, you want to make your way up here? We'll help Carol get into this seat. And while she's, you good?
Yeah, I think so.
While she's getting seated, Carol is my mate. Oh, Carol is my mate. You right? You want to swap?
Do you want to stand?
Come over this one. Come around this one. Carol's my mate. She's my coffee mate.
These chairs.
She's my shopping mate. Which one do you want to get on? That one? She's my movie mate, my chop top mate, my Netflix mate,
Just not upright.
and my Brown Brothers port mate. So we know Carol, we spent quite a bit of time with Carol. And Carol's given me permission to tell you that she has Parkinson's. And I guess the message there that regardless of the condition you've got or what you're going through, you can still write a book.
Yes.
Yeah?
Is this working?
Yep.
Yeah. So, Carol, you ready to go? Tell us. You'll be fine. Tell us what inspired you to write this book.
Childhood curiosity. I was always very inquisitive, and I loved the family stories I heard. And one of the stories I didn't know is about my grandmother. I only ever had one grandparent, because I didn't know my father's family. And now I've lost the train of thought.
Curiosity as a child.
Yes. So I desperately wanted a grandmother, and I had an aunt who kind of filled that role. But when I asked about my grandfather's wife, no one would talk about it. So I thought, how am I going to find out? And all my life I've wanted to know about this woman, Florence, who we fondly call Flo. And I found out an awful lot about her through research. Like she had 5 surnames and 4 husbands and was divorced 3 times, and she had 5 children. So I learned to write notes on these things and expand them. And I've probably been doing it for about 10 years. And Julie came along and dragged me off to publishing, self-publishing. What was it, 2 days?
3 days, yeah.
Just before Christmas. But it opened up a world to me. I had no idea that you could self-publish. I'd never really heard much about it. You have to forgive me, I have little blank spots sometimes.
That's okay. So were there any surprising discoveries you made while you were doing the research?
Well, Flo's story for a start. My grandfather came home, his divorce affidavits, I got them. And he came home one afternoon in January in 1932 to find her in their bedroom with this man. And when they were confronted, they admitted they'd been having an affair, and she left the house that day. And I don't know where my mother was. My mother was 7, and 2 brothers were younger. So where were they while she was entertaining? So things like that. Lots of illegitimate children. And then the book I wrote is called Connected, and it's about my mother's story. And her mother, who was Flo, and the great-grandmother and the great-great one that came before them, they all had amazing stories. Their lives were hard. I wanted my family to know that they could follow the resilience and the strength that these women showed. So yes, I found out a lot of things.
So along this journey, Carol, and I know some of this, you had some challenges from putting this to here and then getting this to getting published.
Yes, after we'd gone to the publishing course, Julie said we could write a book. And I thought, no, I couldn't write a book. I wouldn't know the first thing about it. And she took some of my stories and she said, you've already written the book. This is what we put in it. And I just have to do the reflections and preface and all those things that go with it. And it turned out. It actually worked.
And how did you feel when those books turned up on your doorstep?
Magical. I thought I'd done something I never thought I'd be able to do. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So what did you learn as a result of writing this book?
That I also have that resilience in me
Yeah.
and the strength. because I was diagnosed in 2016, the day before my 71st birthday, so some birthday present. But my husband had terminal cancer, so I had to put Parkinson's on the back burner while I looked after him. So,
Yeah, and some of you will know Andrew. Yep, you know him very well. He's probably, Carol and Andrew, probably the first people we got to know really well. And Andrew is the person who introduced me to leprechauns. And he's Irish, no, true. And he said, I actually, when we moved in, he was across the creek.
yes.
And we were unpacking, and he says, "G'day, mate," in his Irish brogue, whatever it was. He says, "When you're ready, I'll teach you about the leprechauns." And I thought, bloody hell, I moved in next door and nothing. True story, and anyway, we got to know him, and he informed us of the leprechauns. Jennie knows what I'm talking about. The leprechauns are those people who come out in the middle of the night when the manager's not here on the weekend to do things we're not supposed to do. I think they're still here. So, Carol, you've been wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with us. And good on you, mate.
Can I just say something? After Carol's experience, we are now writing another book together.
Oh,
So
okay.
at the age of 80, we are now working on another book. And
She's not 80.
So it is never too late. And once you get a bit of confidence and you've got someone to support and you've got that here, anything's possible. So stay tuned within the next few months,
Yes.
depending on how hard I push. We will
Which is
have
good
another
pressure.
inspirational book,
Oh, okay.
similar to what we've done here, telling stories and allowing Andrew, her husband's story to be told, something that we didn't do when he was alive, but he's still very much part of our lives. We feel him, so that's what we're doing now.
Yes.
So don't stop believing that you can't, you can do something.
Make sure you believe in that.
Around here you have to believe in it.
Jennie Duffield.
Yes.
I spent 30 years in my previous life working in the disability sector as a disability consultant with the NDIS quality frameworks, and I take my hat off to the people that work in that industry and who provide services to people who are less disadvantaged or more disadvantaged than we are, and here's one of them. I'll take my hat off to you. So, tell us about your book, and the book is called Athletics for Children with a Disability. So tell us about your book and what inspired you to write it.
Well, I had no intention of writing a book. I was teaching in Darwin. Have been for many years. I was involved with athletics in Darwin. I don't know if I was classifying athletes with a disability when I wrote the book, because the book was written 30 odd years ago. So there used to be a scheme with the education department that was called Employee Development Scheme, and you put in an application. They would give you a term off class, and you wrote a report, I think, on the findings for whatever you were doing. So someone said to me, "Oh, you should put in for it." So I did, and I got it. So I thought, oh, okay, what am I going to do now? Having been in the sport, I worked for Sport and Recreation for 2 or 3 years as the Junior Development Project Officer for the Northern Territory. I had contacts, so I ended up going to Perth, to Melbourne, to Canberra and to Brisbane, and I got all the information that I could resource and put it into a book that was fit to be used by parents, teachers, carers of children who lived out bush. Not in Darwin, not in Catherine or Alice, but out bush, Porralula, Lajananu, Kalkaringi, some of the places where there were no athletics coaches, there were no athletics clubs. By putting this book together, which tells people how to basically teach shot put, discus, long jump and track, those kids could then, the parents, carers, teachers could help the kids. Those kids could then come to school athletics, regional athletics, Northern Territory athletics, even go on to national athletics and compete and would know what to do. So it was a need that was there. Jackie Burns, who has since passed away, who was one of Australia's top coaches, she coached Melinda Gainsford Taylor and Yana Pittman. She said to me, Jen, there was a need for that book. So that's why I wrote it.
So after you wrote it, what did you do with it? What was the next step?
Well, I didn't write it as a book. I wrote it as a report, sent it into the department, went back teaching. Nothing happened. I probably sat in someone's desk in train. Nothing happened. Judith Green. Judith was a teacher in Darwin. She was an able-bodied teacher. She had something, I can't remember, but she ended up with something wrong with her spine. She ended up in a wheelchair. She swam at the Paralympics in Sydney, and she was back working in a thing called Shapes, which was part of the education department, and it was sport, health and physical education school. She rings me up and says, Jen, I've just found this report. I said, oh yeah? She said, let's put it into a book. Oh yeah, says me. So we did it together. I mean, as I say, it's 30 odd years ago. I can't remember how much I did, but we put it together. Her in-laws had a publishing business in Darwin, so they could do all that. Don't ask me how we did all the stuff, because I was just teaching. I didn't know. That was her business, and she was as I say, gold medalist. She was well known. I guess I was reasonably well known. But the thing that did happen, which once again would be Judith that did it, and Sharon, this could be something that you might like to think about. We had a book launch. We had a book launch in Darwin, in Parliament House, and it was the person who launched it was the Minister for Sport and Recreation, John O'Kidd. So if those of you who want to see there's photos over there of the launch, if you're going to write a book, there's no reason why you can't approach Ballina Council and say, hey, I've written a book on whatever, and just a plug for your show. So yeah, it was just, I mean, when Julie was and Roger were talking to me, I had to stop and think, just what did I do, what was the process? And I guess I was lucky because I didn't have to find a publisher, because the Department of Education published it for me. It was never for sale. We did one print run. I don't know how many books we had. They all got distributed all over the territory. We did a second run. I've got one book left, that's it. So I'm hanging on to that. I was talking to my granddaughter a couple of weeks ago, and I was telling her about this, and she said, oh Grandma, I didn't know you wrote a book. And I can't give her that one because it's the only one I've got. So yeah, it just happened.
And it happened for a reason. All these things happen for reasons. All these books that have been written today, you heard that, have happened for a reason.
Yeah, and it fulfilled a need. Julie said to me, would you do a rerun? And probably not, because one, I'd have to go back and update all the contacts that things have changed. But if you think back to the 1990s, the Wi-Fi and that, it wasn't available. Now they can, you know, a parent or a teacher can go online and look at stuff. Having said that, when I was, one of the last times I was classifying kids in Darwin, one of the girls who I'd known, teacher I'd known for years, she said, "Jennie, have you got any of those books left?" I said, "Yep." And she said, "I need one." She said, "I want to send it out." So they could be still being used, I don't know. I hope they are. I know they've certainly helped a lot of people from the feedback that I've got. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and a great result. So put your hands together, please. One to go. I'm going to change my name to Mike. Slow learners. So, Bambang can't be with us. He's on a cruise to Singapore with his wife Lynn. So I met with him a couple of weeks ago and I spoke to him about his book and his journey. If you get a chance, seek him out. He'd love to talk to you about it. But when I walk in your bookshop, I go straight to the crime fiction area. Henry will love that. Others might look at romance, autobiographies, sport, or looking for recipes amongst the many cookbooks that are there. Then, if you look hard enough, there's a self-help area, and often books about religion and spirituality. Got it. Bam's book is in this later category and is titled Reflections of a Modern Day Mystic. The subtitle is On the Origin of Human Suffering. So these following slides are from Bam's books and his notes for the session. You probably won't be able to read them that far, so I'll read them out. So in terms of publishing, Bam said, "I knew the challenges for publishing books. I thought it would take me at least 5 years to get it published, especially if your book is not everybody's cup of tea and far ahead of its time. In fact, it only took me 11 months just because Amazon started their KDP program, Kindle Direct Publishing, when I was ready with my manuscript." And this is Bam's message. "Our past was full of violence and suffering. Most people don't want to remember trauma, so forgetting becomes a kind of protection. But when we forget everything, we stop learning. And when we stop learning, we don't evolve. In fact, we tend to devolve. We get better in developing arms from swords to guns to nuclear missiles. And he dedicates his book to those who are here to help create a better world for humanity. I think we've heard that among some of our authors today. Like any beautiful flower, it will bloom whenever it reaches time to bloom. It never had any selfish intention to be praised for its beauty, nor to satisfy anyone with its beautiful colour or fragrance. It is simply to be its nature." So Bam has provided 4 books for sale. I think they're $20 each over there if you're interested in it. And he has said to me that if you're interested and you buy one, he will sign it for you on his return. So, in absence, thank you, Ben. We are going so well. So, as we come to the end of today's celebration, I think we can all agree on one thing. There is extraordinary depth of talent, creativity, and life experience in our village. We've travelled through mysteries and crime fiction, revisited lives and family histories, and explored inspirational gift books, all through the voices of our own residents. We've heard about the remarkable work of volunteers during and following the 2022 floods. These books are more than words on page. They are legacies, reflections, and gifts to others. To our authors, thank you for sharing your stories, your time, and a part of yourself today. And to everyone who came along to listen, support and celebrate, thank you for making this a special occasion. Special thanks to Sharon and Bruce for being with us today and actually staying the whole day. That's great. No, it is. We've had people come and they're here for 10 minutes and they go, this is wonderful, thank you. Let's continue to support our writers, keep telling our stories, and remember, it's never too late to create something meaningful. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
Just as we do finish up for the day, a huge thank you to Roger and Julie. This is a wonderful initiative for Pallant, and it just shows the depth of all of the people in our wonderful complex here. And to Roger once again, and to Julie, you've been wonderful to work with, and most importantly, it's been a wonderful morning for everyone. Thank you so much for all.